We live in interesting times. Today's stories. Macron says the French government can do better. Israel's Netanyahu rules out resigning if prosecutors move to indict him. North Korea's leader warns the U.S. in his New Year's speech. Senator Elizabeth Warren announces exploratory committee for 2020. Plus, Florida outdoor winter fun on ice. Hello everyone, I am Jennifer Polentan, bringing you stories from around the globe, and this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. As Yellow Vest protesters again took to the streets across the country, President Emmanuel Macron said in his New Year's Eve address, the French government can do better at improving citizens' lives.
Cessons de nous déconsidérer ou de faire croire que la France serait un pays où les solidarités n'existent pas, où il faudrait dépenser toujours davantage. Nous pouvons faire mieux et nous devons faire mieux.
Macron's speech had been keenly awaited, coming at the end of a torrid 6 weeks for the centrist, whose leadership has been severely rattled by 6 weeks of demonstrations that have repeatedly turned violent. On Monday, he attempted to turn the page on the crisis and start 2019 on an upbeat note. He said, quote, "I believe in us." Citing hopes for more truth, dignity, and hope in 2019, he urged the French, quote, "Let's stop running ourselves down and making believe that France is a country where solidarity doesn't exist." He said, quote, "We live in one of the biggest economies in the world, with some of the best infrastructures in the world. We pay little or nothing for our children's schooling, and we are treated by excellent doctors at some of the lowest costs in the developed world." While acknowledging the need for improved public services, particularly in rural areas where the Yellow Vest movement sprang up over anger at fuel taxes, he noted that public spending already amounted to over half the country's output. As he spoke, demonstrators clad in highly visible yellow vests again gathered in Paris and other big cities to demand more measures in favor of the working poor and a greater say for ordinary people in the running of the country, in the form of citizen-sponsored referendums. Several dozen protesters joined tens of thousands of tourists gathered on the famous Champs-Élysées Avenue in Paris, the scene of pitched battles between protesters and police on several consecutive weekends before Christmas for a New Year's fireworks display. In the southwestern city of Bordeaux, dozens of yellow vests occupied a major bridge. As in Paris, the protesters said they intended the evening to be one of celebration, not of unrest. The protests look set to continue into 2019. Nearly 150,000 security force members were deployed around the country to keep the peace.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Monday he would not resign if prosecutors moved to indict him on corruption charges, as authorities probe several cases involving him ahead of April polls. Netanyahu said he would not step down in the event of being summoned for a hearing by the Prosecutor General before the elections, a necessary step ahead of being formally charged.
The veteran premier was addressing a press conference streamed online from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, where he is on an official visit. The prime minister will not be required to resign if charged in any of the 3 cases of alleged corruption, but he would most likely face intense political pressure to do so.
אני לא מתכוון להתפטר, ויש לכך 3 סיבות. סיבה ראשונה, אני מאמין שלא יצא מזה כלום. אמרתי לכם את זה כל הזמן, לא שיניתי את עמדתי. שנית, ישראל היא מדינת חוק, ולפי החוק, ראש הממשלה לא צריך להתפטר בתהליך של שימוע. שלישית, השימוע הרי לא מסתיים עד שלא שומעים את הצד שלי. ולכן לא הגיוני לפתוח בתהליך של שימוע לפני הבחירות, אם אתה לא יכול לסיים אותו עד הבחירות. זה אבסורד, זה פגיעה איומה בדמוקרטיה. בדמוקרטיה קובעים מי שיהיה בשלטון לפי הקלפי, ולא לפי תהליך משפטי חלקי.
The Attorney General's decision on any indictments is expected in the coming months, and analysts say Netanyahu's decision to call early elections was a deft maneuver to fight any charges with a fresh mandate. the premier denies all charges against him, and polls show he is likely to win the April 9 polls. In the most recent move by investigators, police recommended Netanyahu be indicted over regulatory benefits allegedly granted to telecommunications firm Bezeq in exchange for positive coverage from a related media company. According to Israel media reports, there is sufficient evidence to charge him with corruption in the Bezeq case. In February, investigators recommended Netanyahu be indicted in 2 other cases. In one, allegations against Netanyahu include seeking a secret deal with the publisher of Israel's top-selling newspaper, Yediot Aharonot, to ensure positive coverage in return for pushing forward a law that would have limited the circulation of a rival.
Another probe involves suspicions that the premier and his family received luxury gifts from wealthy individuals in exchange for financial or personal favors. Coming up, North Korea's leader warns the U.S. in his New Year's speech. Senator Elizabeth Warren announces exploratory committee for 2020. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will be right back. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. In his New Year's speech Tuesday, after 12 months of diplomatic rapprochement, leader Kim Jong-un warned North Korea could consider a change of approach if the U.S. maintains its sanctions on the nuclear-armed country.
다만 미국이 세계 앞에서 한 자기의 약속을 지키지 않고 우리 인민의 인내심을 오판하면서 일방적으로 그 무엇을 강요하려 들고 우연히 공화국에 대한 제재와 압박으로 나간다면 우리로서도 어쩔 수 없이 부득불 나라의 자주권과 국가의 최고 이익을 수호하고 조선반도의 평화 안정을 이루기 위한 새로운 길을 모색하지 않을 수 없게 될 수도 있습니다.
Kim was referring to his summit with U.S. President Donald Trump in Singapore in June when he said he had fruitful talks and exchanged constructive ideas. At the time, the 2 leaders signed a vaguely worded pledge on denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, but progress has since stalled with Pyongyang and Washington arguing over what that means. The North is subject to multiple sets of United Nations Security Council sanctions over its banned nuclear and ballistic missile weapons program, which have seen it carry out 6 atomic tests and launch rockets capable of reaching the entire U.S. mainland.
나는 앞으로도 언제든 또다시 미국 대통령과 마주 앉을 준비가 되어 있으며 반드시 국제사회가 환영하는 결과를 만들기 위해 노력할 것입니다.
But he said the U.S. and South Korea should no longer carry out joint military exercises, which have been largely halted since the Singapore meeting, calling such drills a source of tension. He added war-related equipment, including strategic assets of outside powers, should no longer be allowed to be brought in.
Seoul and Washington are in a security alliance, and the U.S. stations 28,500 troops in the south to protect it against its neighbor, which invaded in 1950. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, an outspoken critic of Wall Street and nemesis of Donald Trump, on Monday entered the 2020 race for the White House. The 69-year-old progressive announced she was launching an exploratory committee for the president, becoming the first major candidate in what is set to be an extraordinarily crowded Democratic primary, united by a singular focus on unseating the Republican Trump.
The move will help her raise funds and hire more staff early in the campaign cycle, an effort in which she already leads most other potential Democratic candidates.
I never thought I would run for anything ever in my life, but America's middle class is getting hollowed out, and opportunity for too many of our young people is shrinking. So I'm in this fight all the way. It's going to make a lot of people unhappy, but at the end of the day, I don't go to Washington to work for them. Our government should be working for the people, and that's the movement I'm going to lead. I'm going to build a grassroots campaign. It's already got people from all across this country who are going to be part of it, and together we're going to make change.
A former Harvard law professor, Warren has been a vocal advocate of consumer and worker rights, but Americans may know her best for her frequent sparring with Trump, which has had mixed results. Warren's criticism of Trump's trade policies, erosion of consumer protections, and openness to authoritarian regimes has drawn his attention and his disdain. At his election-style rallies, Trump took to mocking her claim to have some Native American heritage by dubbing her Pocahontas, a derisive reference to the 17th century Native American who lived in what is now Virginia. When Trump offered to donate $1 million to Warren's favorite charity if she took a test proving you're an Indian, she eventually did so, hoping to put an end to his ridicule. Instead, he seemed to relish the fact that the test showed her with only a sliver of Native American heritage. But another encounter with a powerful male politician gave Warren a place in the political folklore. After she clashed in 2017 on the Senate floor with top Republican Mitch McConnell over the nomination of Jeff Sessions as Attorney General and would not be quieted, his phrase, "Nevertheless, she persisted," was quickly adopted by feminists and turned into t-shirts and bumper stickers. As talk of a possible run for presidency grew, Warren has worked to build her foreign policy credentials, taking a seat on the Armed Services Committee. In a speech in November, she called for a reduced military budget and a troop withdrawal from Afghanistan. While Warren has gotten an early start, the road to the Democratic nomination will be long and arduous, with as many as 36 party members weighing possible bids. Among those who have already declared their intention to run are Julian Castro, a former housing secretary in Barack Obama's administration, John Delaney, a Maryland congressman, and Richard Ojeda, a former Army paratrooper who is currently a state senator in West Virginia. But Warren stands out for having already built the framework of a serious campaign, with a staff of more than 70 people working in several key states, and $12.5 million left in her coffers from her successful re-election effort.
When we come back, Florida outdoor winter fun on ice. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly. This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C., and I am Jennifer Polentan. This time of year, the biting cold could be very intimidating, but for our neighbors in the Sunshine State, winter also means outdoor fun. Eagle News correspondent Angelo Corpus tells or shows us why.
What's up, Nesters? We're here at Curtis Hickson Waterfront Park, and we're doing winter recreational activities that Floridians don't often do, and that's ice skating. Let's go! For most winter days, cozying up indoors on the couch with a cup of hot chocolate doesn't sound like a bad idea. However, there's still thrilling moments when participating in outdoor winter recreational activities, like ice skating. Ice skating in Florida? Yeah, you can ice skate in Florida. Courtesy of ice rink events, the city of Tampa was given the opportunity to enjoy this outdoor winter recreational activity.
It's a way to bring winter down to everyone in Florida. We like to have more festivity, and the perfect way they thought they could do this was through an ice rink. When everyone thinks about ice skating, when they think about winter, you think about snow. And what better way to do this than an ice skating rink?
There are many benefits to ice skating, such as improving balance, flexibility, and relieving stress. Floridians like myself gave this a shot, and I must say, it was very exhilarating. At first, it was terrifying. I started off my first 30 minutes holding on to the edges of the ice rink. Great! It's cold, but you're sweating. I don't know why. I didn't feel like letting go, but because the rink was crowded near the edges, I had to make a big boy move by letting go. I gradually got used to skating on without depending on the edges, and I eventually hit my comfort zone. I love the wind blowing against my face.
Let's go. Just keep going. We have another one half. Let's go.
Would do again.
Maybe not. Who knows?
For me, yes.
By the way, defeating the fear of falling, I truly valued my ice skating experience.
So for all the beginners out there, don't be afraid to try it out. Go check out an outdoor ice rink near you in your own city. Signing off from Tampa Bay, Florida, I'm Angelo, and I'm always 1 with 25.
Thank you, Angelo. I suggest you wear headgear next time. That is today's Eagle News Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at Eaglenews.PH and EagleNewsLive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. Thank you for watching and Happy New Year. I am Jennifer Pollentan and I am 1 with 25.